Hello and welcome to the Sweaty and the Farmer and the game design, where we reboot the universe with energy vibrant herringfish. They are indeed pretty. This is episode number 92, Reboot the Life Game. I am the lone name game as the Sweaty.
And I am Lucho the Farmer. Thanks for joining us on this episode. This week we reboot the spaghetti code to launch our original adventure through the space opera.
Indeed we do! And now that we have you here with us, don't forget to subscribe, click the notification bell, leave us a like or a comment, do anything social that your platform lets you. This is the best way that you can support the show. Please do. Don't be a meanie. Just do it. Just do it. So what is this deep dive today? The deep dive is all about reboots. Why reboot? Why not to reboot? Why not to be Canadian when rebooting?
Reboot.
Boot.
With a reboot.
But before we begin, a little disclaimer: the discussion here is based on our opinions and our own in-game experiences. Everything we say or do here, even Lucho, dry and old fart opinions are all colored by us. So if you don't agree with our opinions or anything, let us know in any way, shape, or form. If you're watching us on YouTube, let us know in the comment. Otherwise, just write us to any of our social media accounts and things.
Or email.
Yes, there you go. So, my friend, as we usually do, let's go to the deep dive. What is the context of this? Once again, Reddit.
Once again, the big controversy last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So I saw this meme on Reddit like randomly.
Yeah.
It's basically how do I explain it? It's this. I don't know if you've seen the meme template, like of the girlfriend demanding something, and then the guy all sad saying yes, I'll do it.
Yes, dear.
Just in this case, the girlfriend face is replaced by what's the name of
Todd Henderson?
Skyrim? Todd Henderson.
Todd Henderson, something like that.
Whatever. And then he's saying, fans, it's 10 years, time to buy a new Skyrim again. And then the guy saying,
Todd?
yes, Todd. So I thought it was very, very funny because it's very true.
Yes, correct.
Like they keep releasing
Skyrim in checks,
special editions, remakes,
legendary editions, high pack, HD, yeah.
What bunch of things. It's just basically to keep you buying Skyrim forever until the heat death of the universe.
Apparently so.
So I saw this and I thought that's very funny. And then last week, or at least for the last 2 weeks, we've been hearing a lot about the controversy and the outcry around the Saints Row remake.
Yeah.
Or in this case, it's not a remake. It's a reboot. It's the new
Correct.
Saints Row, which is basically rebooting the whole franchise.
Correct.
And I was thinking, okay, so should we keep accepting that we should buy Skyrim forever and ever? Should Skyrim reboot? Because it's been remade, like it has been retooled, updated. It has taken some of the Skyrim mods and make them actual parts of the code.
Correct.
To
Yeah.
update graphics and stuff. So let's say that Skyrim has been remade many times by today.
Yes, correct.
So should we reboot Skyrim? Is this time?
To reboot the actual Elder Scrolls franchise?
Yeah. Or should we keep buying Skyrim till the end of the day?
Don't get me wrong, Skyrim is an excellent game.
It's an excellent game,
yeah. But I don't know how long we can do this.
I don't know. Like by this point, it feels disingenuous that they are doing the.
Yeah. This time it felt super disingenuous because last time was like, oh yeah, we just took last time it felt much better because it was just all right. It's a 5-year anniversary, and we took like a lot of mods and a lot of community work and just put it all into the game with new textures. It actually feel like a super refresh of the game, right? And we haven't heard anything from Skyrim.
No,
in a long time. Of course, the joke was made.
They're not. It is not a live service. They're not making new content for the game.
Correct.
Like it's fine if they want to do like a celebration for the 10-year.
That was exactly That's what that was exactly what it felt back in the day. Of course, the memes were done because what they did on top of that was putting in as many like current gen consoles and everything else, right? That was what the meme was done, right? Because it was putting a lot of consoles.
That also that meme speaks more to like it is not about how nefarious this is.
Yeah.
Like that meme about putting in consoles is like, we're poking fun at consoles.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Well, this one feels more like, okay, this is kind of getting out of hand just because they want to sell as a new version of the game.
Yeah, it feels just cheap, and the excuse is like we're just putting fishing into the game.
Yeah. Whatever the excuse is, just
this feels a lot more disingenuous than last time. That's the feeling, right?
Yeah.
So
that's why, and I thought, should we move on from Skyrim? I don't know, like people do like Skyrim a lot. Yeah. So should we reboot Skyrim? Like not Elder Scrolls, like Skyrim, like
as a contained game? That would be super weird.
it's doable. Why not?
Yeah, you're right. We have seen examples of that being doable in some way, shape, or form. All right,
because people are very attached to Skyrim, so I can see the appeal to let's reboot Skyrim. Let's tell the story from a slightly different perspective. Let's make it just a completely new game, new engine, new everything.
It's funny because Skyrim is the classic, like Oblivion, like the Elder Scrolls. The Elder Scrolls franchise is one of the closest things that we have to like a Tolkien-esque universe in gaming, without being like purely Tolkien.
Without being a straight up Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, correct. Without being a straight up Lord of the Rings, right? And it has that love, that appeal that is like, not only they took that kind of Dungeons and Dragons Tolkien template very well and adapted well, but added with the different races, with the pace of the game, with the types of stories that they were doing in the Elder Scrolls franchise. That's the interesting part of the Elder Scrolls, right? So, Skyrim in particular is a very, very classic Dungeons and Dragons fantasy because it has to do with actual dragons.
Yeah.
So I feel that's why it's the most loved of the franchise.
I don't know if that's like it has many things. Going for it. Like the customization is very strong.
Yeah.
The open world feels very.
The world design is very strong.
The combat is one of the best around the Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, correct.
As far as I know, and as far as my experience go with Elder Scrolls, the combat in Skyrim is.
Yeah, correct. It's very fluid, very adaptable. It has a lot of options.
So it has a lot of things going on for it, more than just being. It became the classic Elder Scrolls game because of all the good things that it has.
Correct.
I don't disagree with that, but it's still like could possibly still reboot Skyrim. Why not?
It's doable, but the question is, because we're gonna stable what is exactly a reboot, I feel like you have to jump through a lot of hoops to actually reboot only Skyrim.
No, why not?
Because I feel like if you reboot Skyrim, you'll be doing more of a super remake in some form.
I mean, it isn't one of the strongest point of the whole Skyrim thing, or the Elder Scrolls franchise in general, And you can just tell, like, expand the universe like in an horizontal manner.
I see where you're coming from. Yeah. All right, but
Like a reboot can exist. Like, it's not meddling with the Skyrim story. It's not talking about anything with that. Like, that exists. We just expand the world. Like, oh, we have this new continent, this new nation on the side of it that no one knew about it, what's happening.
yeah. All right, let's then. I think we're kind of like confusing what exactly a reboot entails. So let's define what is a reboot exactly, right? To make it different between a remake and a sequel and everything else, right?
Go for it.
Go for it. Says go for it, looks me sideways.
I'm listening to you.
All right, so what is a reboot exactly? I think the particular property of a reboot is that is telling a new story in a familiar setting. Right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of resetting everything that has to do with the story being told, but not the construction of the world in what is being told. All the rules of the world, all very familiar settings, right? And it's weird to define that, but I think that's the essence of the reboot, when you are erasing the story of the world, but not the setting itself. What you kept when you're rebooting a game is the setting.
It's not that you're erasing the story, just that you're not interacting with the continuity of the stories already told.
Yes, because there's some reboots who uses fundamentals of the old setting, but I feel that is included in maintaining the setting of the world, right? But I think what they are modifying in a reboot is the story being told directly to you.
Yeah.
Right?
But it's not that they are deleting, like, they're not erasing the story that they already told.
In some cases, yes. So because it's a retold or a different
cases more often than not is not. More often than not is just, we're gonna leave that there. We're just not gonna interact with that at all. We're just gonna tell a different story, pretty much set in the same world.
Correct.
That they're saying, it's whatever happened in that, like that happened. That's I feel like that's the most common kind of reboot. Yeah, that happened. No one is saying that didn't happen, especially for storytelling game.
Yeah.
That's there, leave it there. It happened. We're not concerned about that part.
Yeah. But so maybe a better way to put it is that the stories before told become a setting, like become part of the setting of the world when you're gonna tell your new story.
Right? Yeah, when you reboot, you're kind of, or most players expect you to pay homage to the older stories somehow, so maybe a callback or that spirit to somehow still live on in the game.
Yeah,
that can take many forms.
Correct, but there's some reboots who actually just do exactly that.
There are also some reboots that just completely override
everything. Yeah.
Those two options exist. Those two.
So let's see that the reboot exists in this spectrum where you can what you want to keep from the world essentially is the setting of the world, and what to include in that setting from the old version of what you are rebooting is up to you. How much or how little you include from that original setting on the reboot.
Yeah, for sure. It has to. I feel like the reboot needs to have like a very similar tone of the game that is rebooting.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't feel like just, okay, we're just doing something different. It has to. It has to.
Yeah.
Like the storytelling, for example, has to in a similar manner. The type of humor needs to lie around the same lines.
Yeah.
Like it cannot be. It cannot have a completely tonal difference to.
Correct. I was thinking in this way. I think a reboot is closer to what you do when you are building a tabletop RPG campaign.
Sure, that means
right?
nothing. Sure.
My analogy goes this way. When you think that the franchise and everything, like all the setting of the franchise is your core book, and then the reboot is the story that you're gonna tell on top of that core book, on top of that world, right? It's already like the story is already stable, established. You have background, you have everything else. You have like a main story that happen or don't happen, and then you tell a new story on top of that setting. I feel like the reboots are more closer to that than anything else.
That's one way of putting it, sure.
What do you think? No, it's not a good analogy.
As good as any other one. It's as good as we were saying before. It didn't add anything, in my opinion, but sure.
Okay, that's. She just made me depressed because that's the way that I was thinking. I thought it was like cool.
Good for you.
You know, sometimes I don't like you, Lucho.
I can live with that.
Anyway, so I think that is the essence of a reboot. That you take the setting of the game and make it and tell a new story on top of that setting, whatever it is, right?
Sure.
And you can include the main. You cannot include the story already told. You cannot include the story already told. Is choice. But the essence of the reboot is that you keep the setting of the story that you're gonna make, and then tell a new story, right? So on top of that, what is the difference between a reboot and a remake?
What is it?
Well, I think the difference between a reboot and a remake is that the remake is trying to maintain as much story of the original and tell exactly the same story as the original, and the reboot wants to tell a new story and is not concerned to keep that many story points and narration and points as the original.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's the main difference.
Yeah, the reboot, like a reboot can make homage to certain things, but it's definitely moving away from the original.
Yeah, and that
piece
includes
of medium.
And that includes gameplay, graphics. Generally not art style. The art style kind of maintains itself in a reboot as close as it can to still keep that setting.
That's more because you want to keep people feeling familiar in this. In the franchise. And our style is something very defining for each franchise in general.
Yep, exactly. So you're trying to keep those defining features, but without trying to imitate exactly the original product. I think that's the main difference between reboot and remake. In the remake, you want to imitate as much the original product as you can, but with new technology. In a reboot, you are trying to do something new inside the setting and the style of the franchise or the game or whatever you try to reboot, right?
Absolutely.
I think that's the main difference between reboot and remake. So with that out of the side, so we don't get confused, what is the difference between a reboot and a sequel? And this is more muddy because sometimes a reboot are actual sequels to games. Or like they're distant cousins.
I mean, because if you think about it, a sequel, it's kind of just telling new stories in the same setting.
It's muddy. Again, I think it's muddy because a sequel, like as everybody knows, it is just a continuation of whatever story you were counting before, even if it was intended or not, right? Because sometimes it's not intended and they just do it. Sometimes it's clearly intended, right? Like the Mass Effect trilogy, that was clearly a 3-story part story, and it was intended as a trilogy, so it's clear that the sequels, even if the sequels change dramatically in terms of technology and in terms of visual and sometimes in terms of gameplay. There's some gameplay that was way more polished, some gameplay added and that sort of stuff. But it was clear that the story had a beginning, middle, and end, and it was the same protagonist and that sort of stuff, right? But some of the reboots are like, oh yeah, some of the sequels are like, yeah, the game that you played before is like ancient history, and this game like is telling a story on top of that, but isn't that a reboot as we discuss it? Then where do we put the line, my friend? What do you think?
I think the thing is, I don't think you can draw a 100% clear line, because there's always gonna be like an example that is crossing your line that you would like to. because if you say that, for example, so it's, for example, from World of Warcraft 2 to World of Warcraft 3. Is that a sequel? Was that a reboot? It has a 3 in the name. There was a huge technological change.
Correct.
Was it a continuation of the story? Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
like
in a way, but not exactly as I understand it.
Technically speaking, it is, because it's the story of the world. So it was just 1 year after, and then they're telling this new story.
Correct.
That did some of the characters persist? Yeah, some of them. Like some of the characters in Warcraft 2 appear in the older games.
Absolutely, yeah.
But there was a huge technological change. There was a lot of time in between the game.
Yeah, gameplay changed too. Like, a
lot.
Yeah.
But you don't think of that specific one, for example, as a reboot, as a sequel. Same for a StarCraft, for example.
Yeah.
From a StarCraft to StarCraft 2. Decades in between the game.
You're right.
Complete like.
But in that case, the narrative trade line was more like a lot clearer than with Warcraft, I think.
Not really. Like
right.
The storyline of StarCraft had a very satisfying conclusion.
Well, you're right. Yeah.
Like it was a game that was telling a story. It had a satisfying conclusion.
Yeah.
It has its arc, its climax. It ended. It was satisfying. It was just like, okay, this story is done. What StarCraft 2 did was just, it took some of the characters. Many years have passed. Now we're gonna tell the story of these guys and what has happened after all this war went down, and what are they? And like, we're telling their stories many years after.
Correct.
It's kind of the same as Warcraft. Just it is in the same universe. It is a strict up continuation of the story. Yeah, like straight continuation, because it has the main characters, for example. Yeah, but aside from that, But nobody, like, the thing is, like, nobody's gonna call StarCraft 2 a reboot of StarCraft. Exactly. No one is gonna call that.
Yeah.
But under the definition that we just gave, perfectly falls. But no one, like, it could, like, under the discussion that we just had,
yeah,
it perfectly falls under that umbrella term.
Yeah, that technically.
But no one will call it, and I agree with you. And I'm not claiming that we should call it.
Yeah, because technically you're right. Like they're telling, they're using the same characters, but they're telling like a very specific story.
Like the StarCraft 1 story, it was all about the political intrigue of the human imperium, and like the betrayal and the thing and the Zergs. It was very about that political. The StarCraft 2 story is just it's for the most part like telling character-driven stories.
Yeah, more personal story.
Zeratul and Raynor and Kerrigan.
Yeah, correct.
and no one, and I'm not claiming that we should call it a reboot.
Yeah.
No one will ever call it a reboot. And it's a sequel. It's a straight up sequel.
Yeah, correct. So what do we do here? What do we say? We don't know.
That's why I'm asking you.
All right.
That's why you are here.
Well, again, I think the stories between in this example between StarCraft and StarCraft 2 are close enough in terms of characters and familiarity that it can be called a sequel because of the very clearly narrative threads are woven directly between the two games. Right? You know who Kerrigan is, he's important in the first game, you kind of see his story, and then you get expanded on the second story, right? So generally reboots tend to either background those main characters of those main story or disappear them completely, right? Or make homage. In this case, like in StarCraft, they just continue or expanding those main characters' narratives. Right, I think that's the difference in that example.
Okay, that example is very clear because it follows the same main character.
Yes.
What about Diablo?
What about Diablo?
It doesn't follow the same main character.
Of course, we're following the same main characters.
Nope,
absolutely, yes.
Nope.
We're still following we're still following the main evils.
Sure, but the main evils are not really like the games are not telling the story of the main evil.
No, they're telling the story of Tristram and of Sanctuary, to be exact. They're telling the story of Sanctuary.
Yes, but they're telling the story of the hero. So, for example, no.
Okay.
Yeah, Diablo, the first Diablo, it clearly is telling the story of the hero who defeated Diablo.
Yes.
That's the story that they're telling.
Yeah.
Diablo 2, they all they kept from that was this idea that we were following the Wanderer, but we're not telling his story. And the Wanderer is supposed to be the hero who defeated Diablo.
Yeah.
Kept the heart and got corrupted.
Correct.
But the story of Diablo 2 is not the story of the Wanderer anymore. He's not the main character anymore.
Yeah.
He's just this backdrop kind of painting of saying, remember this danger on the world, and he is representing that corruption.
Yeah.
But we're not telling, Diablo 2 is not telling that at all. It's at best telling the story about maybe Tyrael, then that's a stretch.
Again, I think for me, Diablo is telling the story of Sanctuary. It's not telling the story of any particular character.
That's kind of a cop-out because sure.
Okay.
All video games are telling the story of the universe that they live on.
God damn it.
Through the eyes of these characters. Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right.
If you wanna go that way, we're not getting anywhere.
All right. Okay.
And I'm not I'm not just trying to knock down for the fun of knocking down what you're saying. I'm just giving you examples where these things become muddier because I agree with you. I agree that the distinction is very especially and it's funny because we have given examples of all Blizzard games who are famous for taking years.
But then I have a question. Then I have a question. Is Final Fantasy the Final Fantasy franchise actually a bunch of reboots? Or just by name? Are the Final Fantasy franchises just by name, right?
They have been very clear that the Final Fantasy games are never sequels, nor reboots, because they are never even related. Some of them don't even live on the same universe.
Yes, correct.
All that holds a franchise together is the name.
Yes.
And they Square Enix have said it before.
Yeah. So
they are not related, they're just games with the same name.
So yeah, in that case, it's like we get basically a new game every Final Fantasy, but it's just called Final Fantasy.
It's just called Final Fantasy for some reason.
For some reason, right?
and it's a super weird example.
Yeah, and in the only moment that we actually got sequels, they actually put it like Final Fantasy 7-2 or 10-2, for example.
Yes, because each game is treated as its own universe.
Correct.
Like its own. And it's funny because they have many shared things across the games.
Yeah.
Like there are many things that you identify as this is the Final Fantasy thing.
Yeah.
But it's not like the Final Fantasy universe. It's like Chocos.
But
yes,
then
Final Fantasy have Chocos.
Yeah. But then in that case, we can actually say that each Final Fantasy is just a reboot of Final Fantasy. Because they kept all the art styles, right?
Not even.
Well, they kept most of the.
That's stretching.
They kept some of the I don't know how to put it. It's like an art thing. It's like an style thing, right? They keep the same. They keep some of the same styles through the games.
Through some of the games.
Through some of the games, and like,
for
example, Chocobos appear in all the Final Fantasy games.
Yeah, but it's. I know, and in that sense, it probably falls. Like, I would probably say that the Final Fantasies are more reboots than anything else.
Yeah.
But to be fair, the Final Fantasies are not even that. Are just games.
Yeah.
So
shall we put an extra quota to a reboot definition and say it has to be done on a established franchise, on a clearly established franchise?
What? Sure.
Like to be a reboot, the franchise has to exist. I don't know. It's just to close the case in Final Fantasy, because we can say like, oh yeah, Final Fantasy is just a bunch of different games, right?
Which they have said
under the
same
same style. So they are not rebooting anything, right? Unless they take one of the existing universe and they tell another story in that existing universe with different properties. That would be the only thing that I could think of.
Sure, I know where you're going with that.
Right?
Sure, we can do that. It just I wouldn't worry much about the Final Fantasy case.
Yeah,
because that's a very edge case.
Fair. So let's go back to the Diablo case then. All right. So how is not Diablos a reboot, but they are a sequel?
But that's the thing. Like, a lot of people would argue that Diablo 3, for example, is more a reboot than a sequel, because of the whole like art style change. The feel of the game is very different.
Okay.
Even though it's a sequel.
Yeah.
Many people would argue that it felt more like a reboot of the franchise.
I don't know what to tell you now. Yeah.
It falls also in that category of many people don't feel that Diablo 3 is a faithful sequel to Diablo 2.
All right, yeah.
That Path of Exile is, for example, the spiritual successor, and it falls more in line with the Diablo 2 universe. Correct. Which is fair because they took a huge detour on Diablo 3.
Yeah.
and many people would argue that they don't consider Diablo 3 French.
Okay, so what do we do here? What do we do? Can we distinct between a sequel and a reboot?
I think the problem is that I don't think we can do anything on paper, because it feels like some of these are just what the community considers one or the other.
Okay. Because I was thinking too in the Ocarina of Time, where all the games are interlaced and they're clearly sequels from one another. And that, the building of the world of Zelda, of Zelda in general, is one thread between is one thread between two different timelines. Like it games with the timeline problem, right? But you cannot say that they have rebooted Legend of Zelda, because that will mean in the eyes, in the perception, that will mean that will erase everything they have done with the time connected timelines and everything, and they will establish a new lore, even with the same style and feeling of the legend, the Legend of Zelda.
That's kind of the point, that it's very hard to set something in stone.
Yeah.
Because whatever the community ends up calling a sequel or a reboot, it will kind of depend on each game and each community. Which is exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Like in between the Diablo example with Diablo 3, which is a very problematic example in this case, and the Zeldas, it just like it shows that what people will call sometimes a reboot or a sequel. And again, this is kind of a distinction that doesn't matter much for developers, or for what people call them, or how people feel. It's a way to that the community uses kind of to signal how they feel about a game.
Fair enough. Yeah. I get it.
More than actually just being something, because like a developer can just make another game on the same universe and say, yeah, sure, this is a sequel, or yeah, sure, this was a reboot.
All right. I see your point.
It becomes a little bit easier, I would argue, in games where the main thing is the story.
Yeah.
Which none of the examples that we have given are.
Yeah.
Like for Warcraft, for the original Warcraft games, it was mostly about the RTS part. StarCraft, the story is basically backdrop for the competitive game.
Yeah, correct.
Diablo, it has always mainly been about the RPG aspects of the game more than the story.
Correct.
It becomes
yes.
in things like Mass Effect, for example, where we see where there's a clear storyline. In those cases, it's a little bit easier to pick up when things are straight up sequel.
Yeah.
I would say, and that's, for example, where the Saints Row thing falls into, because at least from Saints Row 3 to Saints Row 4, there was a very clear, this is a sequel of this thing.
Correct. We just telling, continue the story from one way to another. Okay. I don't know.
It's kind of unsatisfying, but you get where I'm going with this.
Yeah. All right. So.
But I don't know. You don't have to agree with what I'm saying.
Yeah. So can we actually do a distinction between them?
Something that works for all the things? Probably not.
All right, now I'm just sad. I think that. Yeah.
You may have a different opinion.
I think
yes. This is where I draw the line.
I think narratively, it is very clear when you're doing a reboot.
I don't.
Right.
If the main, I would argue with that, with the caveat that if the main aspect of the game is the narrative, yes.
Oh, okay.
If the narrative is not the main focus of the game, then no. Because a lot of games use narrative just as filler for whatever they're actually selling.
You're right.
like many games are not about the narrative.
You're right. All right. So it's more
Age of Empires.
Okay, stop it. So it's just difficult to see where is the actual difference between a reboot and a sequel. Sometimes it's very clear when it's we just erase everything and nothing else matters, and we just take in the setting, but like modifying all the narrative threads and the stories and everything else. Sometimes it's more muddy when they keep some of the old things and they become like old stories or past and like become the past but still exist into the actual new setting, even if they're telling a new story. So it's just difficult to see what is the actual difference between a sequel and a reboot.
It is.
Sometimes they reboot it and they call it a sequel in a way. But
what I will give you is that probably the clearest hint
yep.
to see if a game is an actual reboot are on the narrative.
Yes.
That's where it's gonna be easier to identify. It may not be everything, but that's probably where you can pick it up.
Yeah. So there you go. So I think that is the conclusion of this is that generally you can identify. It's difficult to identify what is actually the difference between a reboot and a sequel, but you can see clearly how much of the narrative threads are still working inside the game, right?
Yep.
All right. Okay, so now that we try to kind of identify what exactly a reboot is, I hope we succeeded.
At least we had an interesting discussion.
There we go. When it's appropriate for franchise to reboot? I think one of the points when it's appropriate for a franchise to reboot is when you already tell satisfying story, but you want to tell more stories inside this world.
Sure. So.
Right.
Sure.
Right?
So Mass Effect.
Yeah, Mass Effect. Exactly. StarCraft franchise. That example.
Right?
The story
sure.
StarCraft finish on StarCraft 2, basically. Kind of.
I don't know. Again, I would argue the story of StarCraft ended on a StarCraft.
There we go. But yeah, I think that's one of the reasons.
I know where you're going. Like if your intention was to tell a story and you told like a complete the development had its climax and like a really satisfying conclusion.
Yeah.
It's probably better. Like if you want to keep the universe and keep growing stuff around that universe, it's probably better to reboot at that point.
Correct.
Because if you don't, we end up on the Star Wars problem.
Yeah, and that's bad.
For as much as I enjoy some of the new movies, that's where we end up.
Yeah. And the other reason is if you wanted to transform the franchise for a new audience, like radically, like.
Do you have an example in mind?
I have two examples for you. One is God of War.
Okay.
And the other one,
I can see God of War.
Yeah, and the other one is Saints Row, which is what we are seeing.
Sure.
With it, right? Where you are taking the essence of what the franchise is and transforming it in something completely different in terms of tone, in terms of storytelling, in terms of gameplay.
To be fair, I don't know if I will drop Saints Row on that category.
All right.
Because we don't know how really different the stuff in the new Saints Row is going to be from the old ones.
Correct.
But God of War for the last one, it's a very clear like moving away from the type of storytelling, from the type of game. Yeah. It completely moved in a different into a completely different.
But then the other example too is Doom, for example. When you wanna keep that same feeling, but sell it in a more modern way, right?
Fair enough.
Right.
But I feel like that falls into the same description that you, doesn't it?
Yes. Which
Okay.
What do you mean? Sorry.
No. Okay, just to make sure.
Yeah. So those three are like when you want to take something that is a little bit old to remake, and that you actually feel that you can sell that same idea to new people and actually make it, but you know that the technology is so far off to try to capture that original feeling that is better for you to do something new.
Sure, I can see that.
Right? Because I think the best example is Doom, because if you think about it, it's very close to what the original is, right?
Yeah, but it has more than the original.
Yeah, but it feels fundamentally.
It is fundamentally the same.
Yeah.
But it has more. Like it's chunkier.
And he uses the new tools to better the franchise, right? And I mean, like new technology tools in terms of gameplay, as are quick events or like the expressive kills, the way that they use certain gameplay to keep the gameplay more dynamic than in the past, right?
Definitely implemented more modern concept into good old Doom.
Correct. And I think that's the point when you should think about Reboot It. If you think about remaking something, well, there's two lines of thinking. Like, one, if you think of remaking something and actually capturing that original thing, and you're so far off in terms of technology, gameplay, and advances in the game that remaking it will make a disservice to the original. Sometimes it's better to think in actually reboot it and give you a new experience for new players to experience that what the original gave to the old players, right?
That is true.
Right? That's one option, right? That's one option when I feel that a franchise should reboot itself. The other option when I feel that a franchise should reboot itself is when they already told a complete story in a word, but the setting of the world is so rich and so recognizable and so well constructed that it's worth to tell more stories inside the world, right? And I think it better service that you are not tied, as in with remakes, you are not tied to this kind of same gameplay features or kind of the same way to explore the world, right? That's the other point when you should reboot a franchise, right? And there is where we put on the problem of if this is a sequel or not, right?
For sure, yes.
Right, because in that example, they generally try to keep as much of the original setting as they can intact, including the old story that they told. But they're definitely doing something new with new gameplay, new way to see the setting, right?
I see what you mean.
Yeah. And that's where the God of War example fits more in there, because they explored as much as they could with the God of War, with the technology that it had and with the settings that it had and with the feeling of the gameplay, but the setting of that storytelling of the revenge of Kratos and the kind of man versus God setting of the war was very appealing to everybody. And they like the impossible odds, so they kept all that and they just transform it in a new way to tell a new story inside it, but it's very connected to the original flavor that it has, like to the point that if you play God of War, you know that the old games are the past of the character that you play.
Sure.
Even if it's clearly a reboot of the franchise.
I see that. How do you feel about GTA 5 in this context?
They are separate games. I see the same Final Fantasy thing, right? even so, there are mentions to the old characters in some of the games.
Would we call GTA 5 a reboot?
No. I won't call GTA 5 a reboot. Why? Because it kept the same gameplay from all the franchise. Same open world, gangster shooting, etc.
It has so much more.
It does have so much more.
By miles have so much more. Like the fact that it kept the same gameplay, it's so minor to what GTA 5 is.
I don't think so. I don't think it's that transformative, to tell the truth, in terms of gameplay mechanics.
It's not that it's transformative. It has so much more to it.
No. I don't count it as a reboot. I don't feel that it's a reboot. Like I don't feel that it's telling a different enough story, that is not going
in a completely
away
story.
Enough from the original gameplay of the franchise.
The story has nothing to do with anything.
But all the old characters exist in this world.
Sure, but again, we have said that that's fine. Like that's kind of a lateral move.
Yeah, you're right.
They exist, sure. Do they matter for the 3 stories that they tell? No, they don't. And gameplay-wise, like the fact that it plays, the fact that you can do the same thing that you could do on the older games.
Yeah.
It's so minor to what you can do now on that game that it's kind of it's just an afterthought.
I don't think it, in terms of gameplay is that.
Why not?
No, I don't see it. I don't see it in terms of gameplay that far. It's just the whole fundamental thing of the franchise.
You can have car races in GTA.
You could do that too in GT3.
No, you couldn't. Not player made.
No, clearly not player made, but but you could do that in GTA 3.
No, you had a couple of scripted races. That's it.
Yeah.
But not like it's again is the Doom description of the game has so much more features to it.
Nah, I see what you're going. But in Doom, they actually reset the story.
Sure. Again, I'm not talking about the story. And if you want to talk about the story, then GTA 5 completely ruined it. Like the GTA 5 story has nothing to do with the older one. Sure, the people exist, but the story itself, it's completely unrelated. Like the story that they're telling has nothing to do with the old people.
GTA is a reboot.
but you see what I'm saying.
Yes, I see what you're saying.
Like the story, like you agree with me. The story has nothing to do with the older story.
Yeah.
Completely new people telling completely new stories.
Correct. Sometimes they have, but sometimes they have connections. Like
they have
missions when
but
you interact with the old characters,
said,
or like
mentions are not enough. Like
decisions of the old characters affect the new stories.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
Decisions.
Decisions of the endings or like certain missions that you do in the old games affect other missions in the new games.
Yeah, but it doesn't go past a mention.
Okay.
It doesn't change the story that they're telling. It's more of a callback than an actual story element. Is it? No, you cannot argue that.
All right.
It doesn't go past mentioning and like a known character to give you some familiarity.
Okay.
Like to say, oh yeah, we remember that guy. He has a name. Here it is.
Right. Yeah.
That's the extent of GTA 5 interconnectedness with the other one.
Yeah. Right.
or not like
yes, you're right. I'm gonna say no.
And gameplay wise, it's the thing that you mentioned about Doom. Like it has so much more.
Yeah.
It retains the core of what it is, the same as Doom. It feels like Doom feels like a core Doom game.
Yeah.
And GTA 5 in the core it feels like GTA. But it has so much more around it that at some point is very recognizable.
Okay.
But I know you, and I know you wouldn't call it a reboot, but
Is it?
That's what I asked you. How do you feel about it?
I feel like no.
Because I don't have strong feelings about it. I'll gladly call it a reboot. Sure.
Yeah. I feel like no, I don't feel it. I feel like it's just a new game.
But that feeling is arbitrary. Like
yeah, I know, it's weird. Well, technically, yes, we can call it a reboot. Technically, we can call it like GTA 5 is a reboot of GTA 3. Technically speaking, if we're not if it would, yeah. Under our definitions, we can say that absolutely. What?
You didn't sound satisfied by that.
No.
But why? What is making you feel different? Or
because it doesn't feel distinctly enough to be called a reboot.
It does. That's what I'm arguing. That it does.
Yeah, you say that it does, but for me, I don't see it. I don't see it distinctly enough between all the games. I don't see that it's distinctly enough to. That's it. That is my argument.
But okay, so your argument is that when you played it doesn't feel that different.
Yeah.
My argument is when you objectively look at it, it's very different.
Yes, you're right. You're right. I'll say it's not. It can be a personal thing.
It can be.
Yeah.
Because I have no horse in that race. I don't care about GTA 5. It's just a game, sure. I don't have any emotional attachment to any of the GTAs.
I don't know. It's hard to say. Anyways. I don't know.
You know? Why not?
I don't know. It's just weird. Anyways, yes. Let's try to move on. Besides, when we already recommend when a franchise should be rebooted. So.
Yep.
I think those are the two correct points.
I agree that those are good canons to think about rebooting.
Yeah. My God, Lucho, made me suffer.
I'm not making you suffer. I'm just putting discussion points on the table.
It's fair. You are. I get it.
It's nothing personal.
Nothing personal. All right. What makes a reboot good or bad? What is a successful reboot or not? I feel like this answer is because, as we discussed, reboot kind of stands of their own as new games. Technically speaking, they're technically speaking new games, right?
Yeah.
Right. So knowing if a reboot is good or bad is knowing if the game is good or bad, basically.
That's certainly part of it.
Yeah, that's part of it. And the other part is, does it make it? I don't know how to put this. Does it make the franchise which was reboot proud? Or does it make a good portrait of what the thing that they reboot, the word that they're rebooting, good, or like enhance it, or make it see it from a different way, or something like that?
Yes. Let me put an example on your lap again.
There you go.
Let me throw this wrench.
Do it.
on your back again.
Do it.
Again, Diablo 3. Many people would argue Diablo 3 was a reboot.
All right. Yeah.
We personally are big fans of Diablo.
Absolutely, yes.
We in general think that after changes, Diablo 3 became a very good game.
Correct. Absolutely.
It has many features that are worth your time in the game.
Yeah.
But the people who would argue Diablo 3 is a reboot would say that it was not a good one because it deviated too much from Diablo 2.
Yes. So
I I'm bringing this up not because I disagree with you, because I do agree with you. Like they are basically new game. So
Yes.
First of all, we should judge them as, do they stand on their own?
Correct. Yeah.
Sure, that's definitely part of it, and that's where the Diablo 3 example comes. I think Diablo 3 is a good game.
Yeah.
Most people that get into a game think it's a good game.
Yeah.
Most people also agree that it's very far away from Diablo 2.
Yeah.
So is that a good or a bad reward? And you, like, I'm pretty sure you will have almost a 50-50 answer to that question. Because Diablo 3 in itself is a very polarizing game. So you have the fans of Diablo 3 who say, yeah, it's a perfectly good reboot. We enjoy it. It's a good game. It has many good things.
Yeah.
And the people who were mad yelling at Blizzard because they destroyed their dreams of a proper Diablo 2 sequel will say, no, it was the worst possible game ever.
Yes, they say that it was the worst part of the game.
So it was the worst reboot of the story of video games.
Yeah.
And you won't be able to find like you won't reconcile those two sides at all.
Yeah, impossible. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. Okay, Lucho comes in with the difficult examples. All right.
I mean, and that's that. Okay, I'll admit that's a very difficult case.
Yeah,
because Diablo 3 is a very, very polarizing.
Absolutely. Okay. So, the whole problem there is how much is making the original franchise proud, which was my first example, right? Because fundamentally, technically speaking, taken as a new game, Diablo 3 is a great game. Right?
Yeah.
Right? But the problem here is it as a reboot, calling it a reboot in this case, does it make it the fundamental setting of the game service? That is the question, right?
The thing is, I still believe that's a polarizing question.
Yes, you're right. Absolutely right. Does it make it or not? Like because it's a thing about flavor.
Exactly.
It's a problem about flavor. So
yes, because if you ask me, I'll say yes. Yeah. They're telling a compelling story in the same universe.
Correct.
Making the right callbacks to the same character without them being like overbearing.
Yeah. So
yes. But many people will disagree with me.
Yes, correct. But again, then it's a problem about flavor, right? It's a problem.
It is a problem about flavor.
What they are constructing this new game.
It is
inside
a
this the same setting of the original Diablo, but they changed the art style in some ways, right?
Yeah, and the whole feeling of the game is very different.
Correct.
But I will say this to you.
Yeah.
I like both Coke and Pepsi.
You're a monster. I like all sodas. I don't have no problem with it. if that's your argument.
No, but
yes.
like
your point is you like both portraits of this same setting. That's what you're saying, right? You have no problem, even if they're different enough. I think that's valid. And on those terms, I will say yes. Diablo 3 is a very good reboot.
And that's a very controversial statement.
Correct.
Right there. Right there. That's
right
very
there.
controversial statement.
But again, as we say on the disclaimer, this is our opinions, etc., etc.
Yeah, I know. But
please don't crucify us, Mr. Internet.
I absolutely agree with that. It is also true that Diablo 3 is a very, very polarizing.
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
You know,
we try to do these topics and and analysis as what is the word I'm looking for?
Partial.
Direct, clear,
Impartial.
impartial. There you go. Thank you. As impartial as we can, but but you have to remind yourself that games are, as a piece of entertainment, they're still, as anything in life, is they're as food. You like some food, you don't like some food. You like some other food, you don't like some other food, and that when the taste comes in, that's where or partially stops.
No, I mean, if it's more that if you're willing to accept that games, even the worst games are somehow pieces of art.
Yeah.
There is nothing more subjective than that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
There is sadly no...
We can analyze them all day as pieces of software, but as pieces of art is harder.
They have a component of everything a little bit, and they have an artistic component to them.
Correct. So yeah, in that sense, I think the conclusion to this is you should, more than anything else, weigh them more to the side of analyzing them as brand new games, more than how
I would agree with that.
How good are they actually making homage to the original?
I would agree with that.
Yeah, to the original.
They should stand on their own more than anything else.
Correct. All right. Are there any games franchise that shouldn't get rebooted?
Is there nothing secret anymore?
There's nothing. Is there? I think the answer is that there's nothing secret anymore. There's nothing secret. There's nothing that you shouldn't reboot if you feel that setting can give you more.
So would you like a Mass Effect reboot of your beloved Mass Effect trilogy?
Absolutely. I absolutely love something a different or better game in that world, in that setting.
Interesting.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's nothing secret, and it's become maybe that's secret for me because again I've been in this setting of it works as a core books in RPGs, in tabletop RPGs, right? If the setting is rich enough, you can tell any good story in that setting.
There's nothing sacred anymore.
There's nothing sacred for me. What do you think? Is there something secret for you?
Yeah, I think they should never reboot the original StarCraft. That story is too good.
The original StarCraft.
That story is just too good.
Okay.
It's by far my favorite story in video game.
Oh my god! All right. Sure. They should never reboot the StarCraft. I guess. Even if they tried a lot of times trying to do.
They can keep.
Yeah.
they can keep making new StarCraft game.
Yeah.
All day long. I don't care.
Yeah. But they shouldn't touch the original story or erase it. That's what you say. All right,
that story is just too dear to my heart.
I get you. Then again, this question again is taste. For me, if they tell me a good story, I don't care.
No, but it's like the problem is that for me, when I played StarCraft 2, the story came with like for example, the way that the story is told, wouldn't work rebooted. Just that all the style of telling the story with like bald heads popping here and there, telling you some crazy political intrigue. It's very old style, but that was part of the charm for me at the time.
Yeah.
But if you were true with it, you clearly wouldn't do that anymore, because We have the technology to do better and be better.
All right.
So it's one of those things that if you were to reboot it, you should do more.
Yeah.
Because that's what the franchise deserves.
Fair enough.
But it's where my personal bias comes into this, but you shouldn't, because it was perfect as it was. Just let it go.
All right, fair enough. You defend your darlings, my friend.
I would defend my darling.
There you go. All right. Before we close this topic, which was very interesting, let's play a little game with the internet, because I have a list here that says the 15 greatest video game reboots according to the internet. So let's see if it's actually a reboot or not, based on our definition, and if it's actually good or not. All right?
Let's hear it.
Resident Evil 7.
Was that... What?
Resident Evil 7, the one with the house, the last one that they took out.
Wasn't that a remake?
Resident Evil 7? No.
Oh, 7.
7, yes.
Is that a remake? I guess.
A reboot. Is that a reboot?
Is that a reboot?
They reset it all the story, the old story. Even if they bring back classic characters like Leon and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but they're not telling their stories really. They're just there for the sake of being there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for the sake of being recognizable, because like as we saw the story of the original, the virus is totally different. They went more for the side of the comes from a plant and mutating a plant.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, great one. Star Fox 64.
Oh, don't know.
I
don't think I have played any of these games.
You didn't play Star Fox in the SNES?
No.
All right, we move on that because Lucho haven't experienced that one. Ratchet and Clank.
Again, this is an all console game.
All console game, yeah. I think you know about this one. DMC, Devil May Cry. The worst reboot that...
oof, that...
It is like the worst, biggest video game reboot failures, but the game, like if you take it as the game, is a good game.
It's a good game, but people hated it as a reboot.
Yes.
But it's a good game.
Yeah.
That's probably another one of those Diablo 3 like controversial.
Correct,
things.
but it's absolutely a reboot. It is a very good game as its own.
It is
But it goes so far from the flavor of the original that people hated it.
People did hated it with passion, as much as they hated Diablo 3 when it came out.
All right, Fallout 3, which is changing from the isometric RPG classic to a third-person exploratory.
It is a reboot. The whole world is more open. It has way more features than the older one.
Correct.
It is, and I think it was a good one.
Yeah, it was an absolutely good reboot, technically speaking, and nobody will call it a reboot.
No,
clearly.
No,
because the story is still the same. You have mentions to the vaults of the old games and characters from the old games coming into play into the game. Yeah, so that's the reason. But fundamentally, it's quite a reboot. They changed everything in terms of gameplay.
Yeah, the gameplay changes were very for sure.
This one will surprise you. XCOM Enemy Unknown.
Why would it surprise me?
What?
Why would it surprise me?
You think that this is a good reboot?
I don't think it's a good one.
You don't think it's a good one? But you like the XCOM games.
I like the XCOM game.
Yeah.
It's okay. Not. Doesn't offer that much new. That's it.
They were totally different games. One was kind of a first-person The original XCOM Enemy Unknown was like a first-person exploratory game.
Yeah, but like it's not even like on the. It would be hard to argue that it's in the same genre.
Yeah, you're right. It is a weird one. It's more like a.
That's why it's hard to say, because even for reboots, they still stay on the same genre.
Yeah, but this is like far from it.
Created, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
XCOM became its own genre.
Yeah, correct. So like, I don't know. I feel like this is a point where he just kept the name, and that's it.
It probably did.
And the fact that in the old one there were aliens, and that's it.
The general alien flavor of the game, which is the most generic thing.
Correct. Next one is Ninja Gaiden. From the side scroller to the third person adventure.
Yeah.
Game.
Oh, but people love that third person one. Or I heard really good things about that game.
People dreaded the old games, but remember them with care because they were insanely difficult.
Yes.
But people like the new storytelling in the third person Ninja Gaiden games, but the only thing that they complain is that they don't keep the difficulty. What?
Yeah, I mean, people complained that it was not as difficult, but like, they did like the gameplay. In
correct. And it's totally changed. I think the story is totally different from the old SNES games.
I would call it a successful one. It had good reception in general. Yeah, people did complain that it didn't felt as punishing.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a different argument because you can like if all you have going for a game is that it's freaking difficult to play.
Yeah.
Then maybe you don't have a game, you just have a buggy piece of code.
Yeah. All right, Doom. We already talk about about Doom and the big success that
Doom is a huge success. Yeah.
Wolfenstein: The New Order.
Ooh.
This was another successful reboot.
It was beloved.
Yeah. They take from the old one. The Nazis thematic.
Right, it was basically the setting.
Yeah.
The story parts of it.
Not even. What was the story? You know what the story of the original Wolfenstein was, right?
I don't remember now.
You were a prisoner.
I remember that.
Yeah, you were a prisoner on a big complex in an SS castle.
Yeah, but did it have more to it?
Yeah. Let me finish.
Okay.
And you were going through this castle trying to find Hitler, which at the end was being modified by the SS in an esoteric and in a magical and technological way. So you end up fighting Mecha Hitler with magical powers. That's what it was. The original Wolfenstein. And the new Wolfenstein is kind of more of a like World War II dramatic encounter with those SS like fantastical elements into it.
Got it.
Yeah. It's kind of more realistic, but it still keep those magical aspects of the original game.
I see what you mean.
Yeah. But it was an absolutely successful remake.
People love that.
Excellent game.
Love the new Wolf.
Yeah. Apparently, The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild is a reboot for some reason.
I don't know. The Zelda games.
I don't agree. The Zelda games are all intertwined.
I feel like the Zelda games kind of fall a little bit into a
Final Fantasy. Yes.
Yeah, they say that they are in the same world and the stories are connected.
They're supposedly being like in 3 different timelines in the same world.
It's just a mess to say. Yeah, don't think about it. They're just different games.
Yeah.
And enjoy each game for what it is. If you think too hard about like the whole continuity, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and this one is dear to my heart because I love these games and are the Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time trilogy.
Oof.
And they tried to reboot it second time, and they kind of didn't land that very well.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
That was messy.
Yeah, so to be clear, they're referring from the 2D Prince of Persia jumping that everybody played on their PC.
Yeah.
To the trilogy of Sands of Time, which the first one is an excellent game, the second one is kind of meh, and the third one is a very good end for the trilogy, in my opinion. You can be polarizing this opinion. And then they tried to reboot it a second time with a more like cell shading style, which for some reason people didn't like. I like the game, just as a piece of art.
I think probably the first reboot was successful.
Yeah, absolutely. The first rebooted trilogy. The second one, I don't know what it didn't land it. I remember it had a bunch of problems with the companion that you have in the style of the prince, and because
I never played that second reboot. I think the first one on the rebooted trilogy.
Yeah. I think the opinion is that the rebooted trilogy was good. And the second one, for me at least, was good because of the graphics and the way they managed self-shading, but for a lot of people, they didn't like it because of the direction that they were done.
Sure.
Apparently, the story wasn't strong enough, which was strong in the first game. And to the point, like, I will tell you that from that game, I don't remember what the story is. I just remember the way the game looked. So that's a testament of how good probably that story was.
True. Right? That's fair enough. Fair enough, man.
There you go. Tomb Raider.
Oh, Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
That was very successful.
That was an awesome successful with movies and everything, and the reboot Tomb Raider is a very good game, man.
It's
very good game. It's succeeding, like showing you the grittiness of being a Tomb Raider, which like the original game was all about the adventure, and you're kind of a superhero. Lara Croft was kind of a superhero in the original games, and in this one it makes you like suffer, like the actual grittiness being lost in the jungle. It feels more like a survival tale than being a superhero theater, but absolutely great games. But they're all right.
They are.
And now the controversial one, Grand Theft Auto 3 was technically a reboot of the Grand Theft Auto original.
It was a
games.
Big reboot. Yeah. It was a big departure from the original ones. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it was very cool.
It was what?
It was very successful.
It was successful. Is putting it short.
So yeah, it's not controversial take. Why did you say that it was controversial?
Because we were talking about if Grand Theft Auto 5 were actually a reboot of 3.
Yeah, but we were talking about 5, not 3.
Yeah, we're talking about the two originals. We were up, top view.
Yeah.
Weird like games. And yeah, Grand Theft Auto 3 just like changed the face of gaming. Made history.
Yeah, no, it's probably the most successful.
Almost finished. Metroid Prime. From the original side-scroller to the first-person action games.
I know people didn't like that much, did they?
Yeah, people love the Metroid Prime for the Nintendo Wii.
Do people like it?
Yes.
I don't follow.
Fair enough, but people did like that, and it was a successful reboot. Very beautiful.
Nice.
Very cool game. And finally, of course, the best reboot that everybody thinks about when they think of reboots is the God of War reboot.
With God of War 4.
With God of War. Just God of War. Technically, it's God of War. Technically, it's God of War 4 because they didn't erase any of the story of the past games.
So it is God of War 4.
It's still the same Kratos, just like a decade or two in the future or something like that.
But they can call it whatever the fridge they want. It's God of War 4.
But it's absolutely a total departure from the original game.
It is.
As I played the trilogy of the original game, I absolutely love the God of War trilogy, the original one. And I'm absolutely loving this new take. I can't wait like 75 way through the game, but it's absolutely amazing game.
Nice.
All right, and to finish this deep dive, my friend, what franchise would you like to reboot? Reboot.
Which franchise would I like to reboot? A big one.
Yes.
Oof.
Chunky.
Control. Should they reboot Star Wars: The Old Republic?
Oh my God! They're already doing it.
we don't know if they're rebooting it.
Kind of doing it.
The Old Republic, where?
Yeah, the KOTOR. They're doing a.
I'm not talking about KOTOR. I'm talking about SOTOR.
You're talking about SOTOR. I don't know.
That's what I said. The Old Republic. I didn't say Knight.
Yeah.
I don't care about Knights of the Old Republic.
Do you wanna reboot?
If it happened, it will be approved by Disney and it will make it canon. Which is not now because it's Legend.
Yeah, you're right. So because we want to make it canon?
I don't know. It's from what we have played. It's just difficult because it's probably a game whose story would be very hard to make under the big mouse oversight.
Yeah.
But I do believe that it's a game that could benefit from modern MMO.
Yes, I agree.
And maybe a little bit of a touch up on the graphics department. It would benefit a lot. But it has, like, as it is, it's a very good game. It has its charm.
Yeah.
So I'm torn about it.
Fair.
Because part of me would like it, part of me wouldn't.
Okay. So Lucho wishes to torture himself.
No, but it's look. The stories that they're telling are very good.
Yes.
But aren't you afraid that Disney, like if they reboot it and they will let's try to keep some of the stories and some of the characters for a possible reboot?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you be afraid of Disney's hand?
Yes, it would be a problem with execution. I absolutely agree with you.
Because they don't have the greatest track record with rebooting Star Wars stuff.
I know. To their defense, they made a great. They made a great thing with the Mandalorian. That's the only.
That's not enough.
All right.
That's not enough to earn my.
To earn your. They did a great job with the Mandalorian. See if we.
Sure, it's one good product out of 3 movies that pretty much everyone hates.
Yeah.
Plus another 2 movies that were not part of the main trilogy that most people hate.
Yes.
So they don't have a good track record.
Fair enough. But they had at that point Kevin Feige wasn't handling it, and the team that they're not handling
I do not care
much
about
better,
that.
I guess.
It's Disney's fault.
All right, there you go. All right, he's
gone. And that's not to say that's not to say that LucasArts produce only gems.
Yeah.
So that's not true either.
All right, fair enough. For me, what franchise should I reboot the most? In this, I had one in mind, and Lucho made me forget it. Damn it, Lucho, I hate you.
Because I always bring interesting.
I know you distract me too much. And one in mind was like, yes, this. I reboot. What was it? Oh my God. I was like, yeah, I want to reboot this. It would be fantastic. My God. I forgot. I totally forgot. Yeah. Half-Life.
That's okay. People keep talking about that. Just let it die.
I just want a reboot of Half-Life.
Just let it go.
I want a reboot of Half-Life.
Just let it go.
I want a reboot of Half-Life because the setting of that game is very cool, and I just want them to tell me a complete story in that setting. That's it. That's all I want. A satisfying story inside that setting. That's all I want.
It's never gonna happen.
I know that's never gonna happen. But this question is not for things that are gonna happen. It's for things that I want.
I mean, it's this is just let it go, dude.
You never understand the importance of Half-Life, my friend, and why it deserves a reboot.
It just let it die. Let it die. You know, like it's like that girlfriend from college that you could never let go. Just do it. It's healthier. Just let it go. We'll all be better if you let it go. If we can stop talking about Half-Life, we'll all be happy.
Someday.
Just let it go. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
All right, that's it for a deep dive. Reboots are fun. That's all I'm gonna say about it. This was a fun topic. We have fun, right? Lucho? Anyways, are you there, Lucho?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, you're there. All right, we move to our audience questions and feedback. Remember, if you want to ask any questions, please leave us in the comment below. If you're just watching, leave it in the comment below if you're watching us on YouTube. And if you are not, and you're listening in any of your devices, please communicate through us in any social media accounts or any way, shape, or form that you deem necessary. So we can answer your burning questions.
Please do.
All right, the first question of the week is: I feel very identified with the barriers of entry for MMOs and why I can get into them, but I still love to do so. Any advice?
Many advice.
Many of advice. All right, go.
Plenty of advice. First, I think find a setting that you like. Because if you don't care about the world, it's going to be very hard to get into MMO.
There you go. Yeah.
That's the first. The second one, if you can play with people, with friends, that will make that will make overcoming those barriers, like the fact that you're doing it together with friends, makes it so much.
Correct. Any more advice?
That's probably the two main things. Do you have anything else?
I have, please, because of the nature of MMOs, be aware of your times. Try to allot enough time to do it with your friends. Try to be a little bit organized with your time if you're gonna play these games. Be aware that it's not like you're gonna sit down and play it and just significantly progress in like 2-3 weeks now. It's gonna be a time commitment.
Yeah, that's where friends can help. That's where having friends playing with you
absolutely
will help make that initial slow grind, I guess.
And the second advice that I could give you: don't get into new MMOs.
No, never.
Never get into new MMOs.
But I wouldn't recommend that to anyone.
Get into new MMOs?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
No one should get into a new MMO. You should wait until they are proven. And,
correct.
And you know that they have survived for a couple of years and that they have
So they're worth your time as little as you have to invest.
Not only they're worth your time, but like MMOs are more enjoyable when you know that they have a stable community, when you know that the developers are committed to maintaining and keep developing the game. That's when MMOs shine.
Exactly.
Getting into a new one is just gambling with your time.
Correct.
Not worth it.
And our second question is, if the MMOs are so problematic to get into, why are they so successful?
Because they are social media with a game on top.
Because they're social media with a game on top.
Yes.
Oh my God, Lucho, you just hit that nail in the head with a jackhammer.
That's what they are. I don't think that's like news for anyone.
Yeah, but you put it very well.
That's what MMOs are. It's just a place to hang out with friends and people. It just happens to have a game on top of
that. Yeah, and it's telling you a story sometimes.
But even that is not that important.
Yeah.
Because what keep people playing MMOs are not the story. Like sure, there are MMOs with good story, but that's not what keep people playing MMOs.
Yeah.
What keep people playing is I have a place to go hang out with my friend.
Yeah. You made me laugh, my friend.
I always do.
Oh my God.
I'm so fucking funny.
All right, but yeah, that's why they're so successful. You're absolutely 100% right. And with that, I'm tired. My face is tired of laughing, so that's it.
That's a good sign. That's all for this week's episode. Once again, thanks for tuning in into The Sweaty, the Farmer, and the Game Design. My name is Lucho, and you can find me on Twitter @LuisGPolan.
And I am the Lone Name Gamer. You can find me on Twitter @the Lone Name Gamer, and on Twitch on twitch.tv/LoneNameGamer, where I stream. Follow me on your social media to know where I'm going live and everything else. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, do anything social that helps us. Share this show with your friends. Tell them how amazing we are or not. Tell us how much you hate us so you can listen to us and hate us too, or whatever. But spread it around like a disease. Thanks for coming to The Sweaty, the Farmer, and the Game Design. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye. And did you know herringfish are bright silver with a blush of greenish black? All species in the family Clupedia share a soft, single, and spineless dorsal fin, small head, protruding lower jaw, and no lateral line, while those in the family of Chirontridrad are ray fin. Their length and weight vary depending on the species. Great reading.
Great reading. Top notch.
Yeah.
Herrings are nocturnal creatures. They spend most of the day in deeper parts of the sea where they're hiding from predators. Main predators of herrings are seabirds, dolphins, killer whales, sea lions, seals, and large fish, such as tuna, salmon, and various types.
So herring fishes, apparently they're very popular.
I mean, fermented herring isn't it a delicacy?
Is it?
Somewhere?
Can you ferment it? What you can ferment? So you ferment fish?
Yeah.
Isn't that good? Like
it's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, that was my point. Don't get me
fermented
wrong.
herring.
We have
fermented.
Yeah.
Fermented herring is a delicacy in Sweden.
All right.
So it's called surströmming.
So all right. Yeah.
It's absolutely disgusting. Horrible.
It sounds.
It's famous for how bad it smells.
That was my next point. Like it should smell like hell.
But it is a delicacy.